Hey sports fans, today we're looking at Deion Primetime Sanders and exploring just how good the first ballot Hall of Fame cornerback really was. But before we get into all that, do me a favor, click that subscribe button if you haven't already subscribed to our channel. All done, perfect, let's go. Long before Deion Sanders was primetime or Neon Deion, known for showing out as soon as the lights came on, Sanders was living in poverty in Fort Myers, Florida, raised by a single mother who encouraged him to play sports instead of selling drugs. At the age of 8, Sanders joined Pop Warner football and claims that while he had practice, the other kids from his block who didn't play sports would hit the streets to sell drugs and ended up getting swallowed into that lifestyle. While Sanders was running circles around his Pop Warner football competition and also Little League Baseball, which he had also signed up for, those around young Deion quickly saw that he was a special talent, faster and more athletic than anyone else on the football or baseball field. As Sanders grew, so did his legend. While attending Fort Myers High School, Deion added basketball to his list of sports and became a 3-sport star. While he was younger, basketball was actually his true passion, and it was after scoring 30 points in a game when a high school friend gave him one of the most fitting nicknames ever given, Primetime. Sanders didn't just play 3 sports, he started in them. He earned all-state honors in all 3 sports, and by his senior year, the offers began rolling in for the Florida native who was now becoming a local legend and a national star. In 1985, he was named to the Florida High School Association's All-Century team. After sifting through the many offers and contemplating his future, Sanders decided to stay close to home and attend Florida State. Sanders, who's known for locking down receivers, actually played quarterback in high school and switched to cornerback once he became a Seminole. Naturally, someone as gifted as Deion wasn't worried about the position switch and approached it with the same swagger that became his calling card. At FSU, Sanders was known for having uncanny speed, often making plays on the field that most couldn't fathom, and closing distances on wide receivers who were also supposed to be special athletes. It became clear to the FSU coaches and opponents alike that Sanders was in a class of his own when it came to speed and athleticism, and there would be games where Sanders would even get bored out on the field because nobody would want to throw in his direction. Sanders would often bait the quarterback to throw the ball his way by letting the receiver look open, only to turn on the afterburners and intercept or defend the pass. Sanders wasn't just impressing on the gridiron either. He was playing 3 sports with the Seminoles along with football. He was still playing baseball as he did in high school, but also decided to run track and field. Sanders helped lead the baseball team to finishing 5th in the nation with an impressive batting average of .331 during the 1986 season. The lightning quick Sanders was known for getting an extra base because he was faster than most and stealing bases. In 1987, he stole 27 of them. In 1987, the legend of Sanders would grow even more. The conference baseball and track champions were being played simultaneous in primetime fashion. Sanders played the baseball semifinal, then left to go and run a leg of the 4x100 relay and then returned for the baseball championship game. Sanders' track team won the conference championship and his baseball team won the conference title, but it was football where Sanders shined the brightest and where he'd received the most recognition. He went on to be a 2-time consensus All-American with 14 interceptions, including 3 in bowl games, returning one of his interceptions for 100 yards and breaking the NCAA record, and would also win the Jim Thorpe Award in 1988. Sanders wasn't a one-trick pony, and he also did his thing in the return game. In 1988, he led the nation in punt return average and broke the school record for career punt return yards. There was talk of Sanders being one of the most pro-ready football prospects ever, and some thought he may have been the fastest person to ever put on pads. His head coach Bobby Bowden would go on to famously say that Sanders was his measuring stick for athletic ability. Entering the NFL draft, the buzz surrounding what Deion Sanders would do was palpable and has since become somewhat of a myth. As the myth goes, Sanders hopped out of a limo, ran his 40-yard dash in 4.2 seconds in regular shoes, and then just kept on running out of the combine to a standing ovation. Sanders himself didn't do much to dispute the folktale, and wouldn't address whether or not he was in street shoes, but did have to say, "I don't even believe I stretched. Do you want to know why? Because I never seen a cheetah stretch before he go get his prey," he said. "And I ran. I ran so fast I felt like I was floating. I felt like I was kind of coming off the ground, and as I hit the finish line, I could remember. Everybody was in disbelief. I just wanted the first person to say 4.2 something because I know 4.3 was not even in the factor." While it's said that some people had Sanders clocked as low as 4.19, Charlie Casserly of NFL Network said Sanders ran between a 4.27 and a 4.33. They didn't have laser times back then, so it's hard to say who's right, but one thing is for sure, Sanders was one of the few big names that was confident enough to even run the 40, because back in 1998, most of the top draft picks elected not to run because it would affect their draft stock and reputations. Not Deion. Sanders would go on to be selected with the 5th pick by the Atlanta Falcons in the 1989 draft and was so sure that he would go early in the draft that he didn't bother taking interviews with teams that weren't picking early. The year prior to the NFL draft, his MLB draft wasn't as eventful. Sanders, always considered a better football player than a baseball player, was selected in the 30th round by the Yankees and would go on to play 2A ball before being brought up to make his major league debut in 1989. During the '89 season, Sanders would become the only player in history to score a touchdown and hit a home run in the same week. Sanders was solid by all accounts as a baseball player and would spend a couple seasons near the top of bases stolen and a few seasons at or near a 300 batting average, and helped his team reach a World Series, becoming one of the first players to play in a World Series and a Super Bowl. But as Sanders said, football was his wife and baseball was his mistress. Many wanted Sanders to focus on his better sport, football, and it was as an NFL athlete that Deion catapulted himself into a sports icon. With the Atlanta Falcons, it didn't take long for Sanders to establish himself among the league's best corners and one of its most dangerous kick returners. Sanders would simply erase the opponent's best receiver, often not getting thrown at. This frustrated Sanders, who'd often trash-talk quarterbacks for not looking his way. Could you blame him? During his 5 years with the Falcons, Sanders would pick off 24 passes and return 3 of those for touchdowns. He would chip in another 7 scores as a kickoff return man, 3 as a punt returner, and add in another 2 as touchdown receptions. The Falcons would let Sanders walk in 1994, and Sanders would take his talents to the Niners, where he had arguably his best season, where he would shut down countless star receivers, most notably Michael Irvin, and intercept 6 passes, return 3 of those for touchdowns on his way to winning Defensive Player of the Year. He'd also help the Niners get over the hump and win their first Super Bowl in the post-Montana era. In 1995, Sanders would be a free agent and would choose the Dallas Cowboys in what ended up being called the Deion Sweepstakes after many teams were vying for the All-Pro services. Sanders played lights out for the Cowboys and again showed the league and world he was the best covered corner and return man on the planet. He'd also chip in his wide receiver, which was one of the biggest reasons he chose the Cowboys. Sanders only had 2 interceptions in 1995, but it wasn't his fault. Teams just weren't throwing at him. Sanders' lack of attention on defense is why he wanted to play offense in the first place. Sanders would help the Cowboys hoist a Lombardi trophy, and it would end up being Deion's 2nd Super Bowl in 2 years. Sanders would spend the next 3 seasons as a first-team All-Pro for the Cowboys, and after a Pro Bowl campaign in 1999, he would be released in 2000. Spending the rest of his career with the Redskins and Ravens, Sanders would remain one of the league's top corners and shadow opposing teams' best receivers, and managed to pick off at least 2 passes in each season for the remainder of his career. Sanders sat out from 2001 to 2003 and was still clocked at a sub-4 40-yard dash, and even at 37 and 38 years old, he picked off 3 passes in only 9 games, and at 38, still picked off 2 passes, and was sticky enough in coverage to have quarterbacks look the other way more often than not. Sanders retired in January 2006 and was regarded as the best cornerback of not just his generation, but all time. He was the first true shutdown corner in sports. Many cornerbacks pay homage to Sanders by imitating his high stepping before reaching the end zone and his trademark touchdown celebration dance. More corners want to be on islands against the team's opposing #1 receivers because Sanders did it. Deion's impact in the game will live long past his playing days, and 14 years after his retirement, we're still yet to see a corner as dominant as Sanders or a two-sport professional athlete. While Kyler Murray, Russell Wilson, and Tom Brady have all caught the eyes of major sports, none of them went on to play both simultaneously or ever do more than flirt with the idea. That is it for our time on Deion Primetime Sanders. Will there ever be another cornerback like Deion? Was he the most gifted athlete of his time, of all time? Let us know what you think by dropping a comment down below, and if you haven't done so already, do me a favor, hit that subscribe so you can stay up to date on all of our content. Until next time, sports fans, take care.